What up? It's your boy T-Burn Reaction. We're going to continue the one Black Radical versus 20 Curve with Amanda Seales video as well too. So it's going to be part 3, and the debate like is systematic racism. So there's that. Last one, the black on black crime was juicy. The first one, it was definitely a 50-50 anyway as well too. Second one, I gave it to the conservative one because I feel like I mean, so put a little too much emotion in that one, and then of course, and then this one, I think she did kind of gave him a little bit as well too. You know, she still put a little emotion, but I think she had him on this one, and like and just like the last one, ended up being a respectful one too. So just like the last one. So anyway, this is gonna be interesting though. I kept seeing the guy that come up in memes like crazy. So without further ado, I don't want Trina. I just got busy with trial laugh. That's why I'm still Trina trying to laugh, like so I can let it all now, let it all out now. This one. So anyway, let's get it.
Before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story so you get a full picture of the news. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. They deliver the facts, unbiased, balanced, and designed to make sense of a complex world, getting you the clarity you deserve and news you can trust. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel. First name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
Oh, John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen innumerable instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate.
Glad he let her go first, so the good explanation of systematic racism, because that's actually a good little explanation of it. This is not give us a little summarize of what that exactly is, though. So yeah,
right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism? Redlining. Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, can you elaborate? Like, how is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property.
My man from the first one ain't here for it, Lord. He about to
putting
red
them
flags
in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land, and that inability to own land but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continue to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much so to continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now, we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves.
Right.
There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where black people had one appraisal when they had their blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all of those items and put up white people and a dog in the house, and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great-great-grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before, because before I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with us, with those people who are perpetuating these, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is just, it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether
Congress,
it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available, with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools. Who is controlling those systems? So, for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans, and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to put
All right,
words in your
guys,
mouth.
I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return to
All
your
right,
seat.
so this one I say, only reason I'll give this a 50-50 because one, he put his perspective, and then she did as well too. Wasn't a Chris, he back and forth like some of the other ones been. So I could have you add this on 50-50 though. They got a pretty woman in there. Oh wow. All right, who got it? All right.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they've said what exactly. You said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So, for instance, when it comes to guns in the classroom, the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right. Actually, actually on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak, and that was interesting. And I found that really like insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like if so that's the difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, "I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house," because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
But after that, people still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when it came down to,
if the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic. Because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about, and that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. This is not me making that up. That is actual data.
Right,
so
pause.
systemic is
Pause.
I know that for starters, the first time that the first ones was respectful. So to me, the next one's gonna be a crazy heated one. Who knows? But yeah, but this one, I think Amelia got a little edge from this guy as well too. She had to educate him a little bit, so she has a little bit of an edge on this one. So there's that. So let's keep going.
Been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
thank you.
Uh-oh.
All right. How you doing, Amanda? I'm Ryan.
Ryan. Nice
to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that, at the very least, it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right? We've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now, in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay. I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that it's going to be harmful to us. like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of blacks. And so,
Where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I looked at different clips
Okay.
from both sides of the argument, things like that. But
Okay.
basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing black people up in ways that are not fair,
Why is
and
it
different
not fair?
things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based,
Okay.
and where we're in, when there's jobs and the different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And
Facts.
so. I think that, let's say that there are
red
ways
flag
right
already?
now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where black Americans can, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all
Are you
opportunities.
sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
Do you have the
again,
same support?
even if I
That's
don't
the
have the
thing.
same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I
Do
can
you have
have
the
more
same
support than
community
others.
support?
I have excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grow up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Would you say that low income white people and low income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then.
Here we go.
So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people.
Okay.
True.
So let's start there. When we talk about low income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone
Curry.
moving forward. When we
There
talk
goes
about
Steph.
DEI, the concept of
Steph
DEI
Curry.
is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history. All right. For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, black people were then subjected to the Black Laws. The Black Laws were specifically for black people. The Black Laws incarcerated black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right? Now you're affecting the ability for their
That's
children
true.
to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep
caught
that
up.
from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure. Okay.
All right,
So
I'm so sorry. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so this has been a majority of respectful debates, but this one definitely Amanda had the edge on this one for sure. Though he had some good points, and Amanda had some good counter for us. So there's that.
Sorry.
all good.
That's flags.
Yeah.
All right, who we got? One more. Oh, we got a return. First time returner. So first time, let's see how many we did before the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 people in this one. So yeah, it was 4 on this one. So it's pretty much 4 on this one. And but this time was return.
Hi.
Hi again.
Again.
We cool now?
We good. We good.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think because I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist, because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking.
That's the thing about. I'm running back just a little bit, but I'm gonna run back just a little bit when she said that part before she said that. But she got a point right there though with that. And I heard her say a lot of people that's considered our background are not born in the U.S. So there's that as well too as well.
We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking booty in
the
Nigeria.
Nigerians I know ain't.
I mean, Africans too shaking, but there's a spiritual thing about it. Ooh, that's why like, when she said that, like, oh, I knew she was going to get a rise out of Amanda with that one.
If they are
We
twerking and shaking, but
literally
they
learned it
doctors
from Africa.
They're
That's
doctors
true.
twerking and shaking
literally
booty, so
have
maybe
it
they
from
can
Africa.
shake because they
But
got
I
the money
think-
to
I
back
think
it up.
that's
But do
an
you see what
unfair
you're saying? But do
generalization.
you see what I'm saying, though? We have to be honest, Amanda. When
Well,
Indians
as a fellow,
come here,
so as a fellow daughter of an immigrant,
Okay.
right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards
Props
for
to her.
folks. So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been
but your
here.
mama came here and she wasn't the majority. So how
No.
did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
And
you're,
she had
you're-
her
let
village.
me say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have black people fighting immigrants and have black people
She getting hot.
saying that
Oh, she
immigrants
about to
don't
cry.
matter.
What's going
Dividing
on
white
there?
people.
White people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding as a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There
But
should
I
be an
believe that
equality.
we are becoming the new white supremacists.
We
'cause
are.
We've been
We
putting them on a
are.
pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't
We
do
are.
anything.
No, it's not that
We
we're
ain't
putting
been
them.
nothing,
It's not
won't
that
be
we're putting
nothing.
them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our blackness against our people. When we do what you're saying, we are saying, I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure
But
it
Amanda,
out.
what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I
What's the
want a life for
American
my
dream?
The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss chick. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say
Well,
that we're
no, it's
working
not
with
that it's
them,
whiteness, it's capitalism. And I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
But Amanda, we're sitting here benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you would want
I
to
understand that we are benefiting. I understand that we are benefiting from
I thought the first one is the first. This one will be opposite of the other one. The first debates was all respectful. The last one getting heated.
capitalism. But I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a black radical. It's to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and people are coming
My
here every
solution
day.
is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't.
But I feel
this
like a lot of
obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we
who
live
do
in
not-
America,
Let me finish
Amanda.
my point.
Go
There
ahead.
are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the most important element of their identity, because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
We
I
all
agree.
deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And
You know,
that is what
but
capitalism
What makes you think
does.
that you have to earn it? That's what I'm
That
saying.
is
Like,
what
I
this
don't feel
nation
that way.
is. You do have to earn it.
You don't have to earn
Yes,
it.
you do.
We are
That
in
is why we are
America, Amanda.
criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular basis.
How so?
How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing
Amanda,
inflation grow.
We
No.
both have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
No, we have not had people that are done it. My mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my
mama
mother
was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
good
something
for
of
your
herself.
mom.
But
But this is the thing.
So we can't
your
do
mom
it.
It's not. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, man. But you know we live in a
It's
broken
not a matter-
society. I went to
well, then
Nigeria
that's
and
what
they're
we're
having the
talking
same
about.
problems, and
But
there's a
that's
bunch
what
of
we're
black
talking
people that are
about.
running
It's a broken
Nigeria.
society.
But it's the same thing in
But
Nigeria. and
Nigeria
there's black
is a
people in
broken
power.
society,
With black
whereas
people in
Burkina
power.
Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim is
All right, so this was like a solid one to the end as well too, and I don't know. It's definitely a 50-50 on that one this time, because although I feel like Jazz had a little more point and everything, Amanda did have some point as well too. You know, she got a little emotional with it, but it got a little heated. But at the same time, this was like 50-50. So just about all of them was just about 50-57. Maybe the second one was like a slight edge with Amanda. But other than that, though, this was a good debate. I think that title was like something that couldn't get too heated to less the person who are passionate about that we got it as well too, because something systematic racism is something that is like something that we like that got to learn and know about a little more before we debate about it as well too. So yeah. Other than that, these been good. So there's two left. There's one more debate claimant and one more actual one left with John. What's his name again? John Samuels. Anyway, other than that, like I said, this is definitely interesting as well too. I'm gonna stop with this one. I'll pick a different day to finish this one. I might do both this and the walk then the John thing afterwards. Other than that, this was anyway. Other than that, if you like my reaction to this, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off on love.